Hey Audrey.
Hi, Andre.
Hi. Okay, we're recording now. We're live.
Well, we're live.
Yeah. What's up? I love your blanket, by the way, the Hunter x Hunter blanket.
Oh no, this is actually a jacket.
Oh, jacket. Oh, I thought it was a blanket.
No, I could
That's
totally
awesome.
put it on. It makes me look like a Minecraft character because of how blocky the shoulders
Oh,
are
uh-huh, uh-huh.
and how big it is on me.
Um so I have not done a podcast in a long time,
hmm
and the deal was that I'm gonna upload my podcast, and but you also have a podcast. So can you
Yes.
tell me about that?
Okay, my podcast, I actually just started it last month.
Uh-huh.
It's called Oddcast because
Podcast.
Oddcast. Just
Nice.
like away the P. Also, a little bit of a pun on my name because I'm Audrey. Odd.
Right.
But my podcast is more catered towards like self-care, self-love type of stuff. I'm on this journey of learning how to love myself a bit more and to just have more of a fulfilling life that's just nourishing and healthy.
Hmm.
And I kind of want to offer other people, anyone who listens, just the tools and the tips that I've learned along this journey and kind of just take them along with me, or even tell people that, hey, I'm on this journey with you. We're all learning here. We're all people. We all make mistakes. We're all trying, and sometimes we just forget certain things, such as just being thankful for waking up in the morning.
Hmm.
We forget simple things like that, and yet those small and simple steps make a huge impact on the rest of our lives. And so I just want to serve as a reminder.
Nice. That coincides with my topic usually because my podcast is titled "Getting Good,"
hmm
and it started out as like a gamer term, like "get good," but it really applies to everything, like self. So mine is more about self improvement. So it kind of coincides with yours, which is self care, because they're basically kind of similar things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hold on, let me turn on the light. My light.
Okay.
Okay, because it's pretty dark in here. Um, First of all, well, I want to talk about. You just went to the dentist, right? Because you're talking a little funny.
Yeah. I don't know if you could tell, half my face is numb. This side.
What kind of procedure did you get?
I got three fillings.
Oh wow,
Filler up,
nice.
please.
Did they say it's gonna be it's gonna be like painful after it's not numb anymore?
Maybe just sore,
Oh,
just because they did one at the bottom and two at the top,
uh huh.
and it's like one at the front and then two on the side, and so they kinda hit everywhere, and I could tell they were stretching my cheek pretty relatively far just because I couldn't control it after they numbed the the top half, after they numbed the bottom, so I was like,
Dang.
"I can't do anything you want me to do," and I just felt them tugging, but at the same time, I'm like, "They know I can't feel anything."
Earlier, you pointed out my sideburns too, because
Yes,
they're
dude,
like,
your sideburns look so cool.
are they? I just
They
haven't gotten a
are.
I haven't
It's a
gotten a
look.
haircut in a while. They're not even even. Like one's longer.
I
Have
could
I
maybe
told you about my hair pulling condition?
no.
Oh, I made a video about it a while back too. So I actually have a condition called trichotillomania. It's like the word at the end is mania, and it's kind of like
Mm,
a habit. Some people say it's a nervous habit or it's a habit like that stems from anxiety. I don't really have high anxiety, not right now at least, but I think I developed the habit when I was a kid.
mm.
So like I used to pull like my hairs on like my cowlick. Uh, I've always pulled my sideburns, and then I
Mm.
pull like my beard and my mustache. Um,
Just because?
yeah, it's really I can't explain it. It's just my hands will fidget near my face, and then I'll start pulling hairs out.
Does it
It's
actually
actually
make it grow longer, like, faster?
no, I pull them out like completely, like the
Oh,
root.
you pull them out. Oh,
Yeah,
I thought
yeah.
you were just pulling it, like,
No, yeah. Yeah,
oh,
so what I'm trying to do with my sideburns is like uh if they get long like this, I actually don't pull them out. So Mel was like you should just grow them out so that like it prevents you from pulling, cuz if it's like short still, I'll pull everything out
mhm.
like from down there. So I'm trying to get it to connect eventually to my beard, and then if eventually I can get my mustache long enough, I'll just
Yeah.
stop pulling it. So hopefully,
Wow.
yeah.
That's so cool. No, it It's totally a style, it's a look. It reminds me of, like, those 90s or 80s anime style.
Yeah,
You totally look like an anime character.
like Kuwabara from Yu Yu Hakusho. Yeah,
Yes,
you know that
yes!
guy.
How did you know?
Go up, you're a Mishi. Yeah.
Dude, that's so cool.
Anyway, how are you? How's life? I know
Life
that's
is
a loaded question, but yeah, how's life?
I mean, life is good. I think I'll just focus on this week alone from last week because we spoke last week,
Yeah.
and, we touched up on a lot of topics, and for me this year, I've started really well in terms of creative endeavors, but this week I've been thinking more about the topic of time, just because I feel like time is going by so fast. Last year, I was just hit with a load of depression, and so time was just very different from what it is now. Like, I kind of felt like a little useless last year in a way where I just felt I couldn't do anything. But now I feel like I have so much that I want to do that I'm like, how do I manage my time? How do I
Mm.
juggle all these things that I want to do? And so that's just something that's been on my mind this week.
Do you
Like,
think that time when you're depressed, time goes slower or it goes faster, or like the way it feels?
I feel like it goes slower.
Because you're
Like, I
not
know
doing
the
anything.
days pass by, but it's almost as if life is at a standstill. And even if everything else is moving forward, when you're in that state of mind, at least for me, when I'm in that state of mind, I don't feel like I'm moving.
Mm.
No matter how much the world is moving forward, I feel like I'm at a standstill with myself, with what I wanna do, with my motivation or lack thereof.
Hmm.
Like, and it just makes it feel even worse.
We can get like super personal here. Do you think that you have like a chronic depression, like a long term thing, or was it just a period that you were depressed?
That's a good question. I think that kind was definitely period because it's never been as bad as it was last year.
Mm-hmm.
Like last year, I even had to ask a couple of friends, like, "Hey, can you stay here? I can't be alone right now."
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's never been that bad.
Hmm.
Usually, like, I wanna hide, but I knew at least enough that it was bad enough that I needed to call someone to be with me.
So I think a- sometimes at that point, it's like you can't just rely on self care just from yourself. You need a community. You need someone, at least one person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, just 'cause, I mean, I knew I didn't trust myself, like, with being able to take care of myself just 'cause I couldn't. No matter how m It's not even no matter how much I wanted it, I didn't want it, that was the problem.
Hmm.
I didn't wanna take care of myself, and I felt like I couldn't, and I wasn't capable of it last year at the time.
So do you think there was like a first baby step? Was there like a moment, or was it like a gradual um like climb out of that? Because I know it feels like a deep pit. Because I've been there before too. Like in 2012,
Mhm.
there was a really bad time. I could talk about that in a little bit, but I want to ask you like, do you think there was a certain moment or decision where you just decided like I'm gonna start getting out of this?
I think it was a little bit of both because I was like, "I'm tired of feeling this way."
Mm.
I've already talked to a lot of my friends at that point, and everyone's kind of advice or comfort was the same. And no matter how much I seeked it from other people, I knew I wouldn't be able to get out of that hole unless I made that decision myself. And so it kind of, I felt like I needed to turn off my brain a little bit, or maybe my heart, maybe my feelings, just do it, right?
Hmm.
Like, even if I didn't want to, I had to kind of force myself. And once I finally started doing things and giving myself permission to do things, because while I was in that mode of depression, I felt like even just moving out of my bed to stand up and do things was a crime. So
Hmm.
I felt like just like doing normal people things, like brushing my teeth or eating, I felt like it was a crime, like I deserved some kind of punishment. But once I gave myself permission to move, to get up, even just the smallest thing felt like success. And
Mm,
so both gradual and kinda just decision to do it, because it all just added up, and
yeah.
then it became this big tumbling thing of, yes, like, I am a person too.
Wow, that's um so similar to how it was when I got out of it too. Because so in 2012, so that was what 9 years ago now.
Is that when we met? Or
I don't
when
know. I don't remember.
I met Mel in 2011.
Uh huh.
It was at pre-con.
Uh huh.
Pre-con? Is that what it's called?
Well, I feel like I met you a few times, like offhand, but I think I really only met you like more recently.
Yeah,
You know what I
like
mean?
yeah, yeah.
2018 or something like that.
I think it was
17.
2017.
Yeah, probably.
Yes, yeah.
But yeah, so around 2012, I think around spring of 2012, I was depressed for a while, and I felt exactly what you felt like. Sometimes you just you're just punishing yourself, and you don't feel like not punishing yourself. You feel like just staying in bed. I'm just gonna lie here. I'm just gonna wallow in it. And for me, it's just like you said. You kind of come to a realization like this can't go on.
Mm,
um, for me, it was almost like a really morbid or mortality thing that I had accepted that if I stay this way, like considering I'm starting to feel allergies, like you feel it in your body, it changes your body.
dude,
Yeah,
agreed.
like you have no appetite, you have no energy, and I told myself I was lying down one morning and I was like, if this goes on, I'm actually gonna die.
Yeah,
if
and
if
no,
if it doesn't if it persists, you just die, right?
yeah,
And so I actually learned a lot of stuff about the hormones of depression. Like there's one in particular, cortisol, which it kind of overloads in your body, and what it does, like in practice, it kind of prepares you for dying. That's why you don't have an appetite anymore, and your body's able to like survive for a long time without eating. Um,
cortisol?
yeah, cortisol. Yeah.
Interesting. I see that on, like, facial models, like,
Oh
like,
yeah.
Dermatology, yeah. What does that
Um,
mean? I don't
well,
know.
it's a hormone. They call it the depression hormone. It has a lot of different functions, but it one of its functions is to help you survive. Um,
Mm,
but when you get overloaded with it, that's pretty much depression. Like it's the physiological effect of depression.
yeah.
And yeah, so there was a moment for me. It was in one moment where I was like, okay, let's just get out of this. Because if I don't, I'm gonna die. So what is the most basic thing I can do to not die? Well, just like you said, eat.
Eat.
It's just a regular thing.
It's hard when you're
Yeah,
like that, though. It's so hard.
yeah, yeah.
Food is unappetizing, like, you just feel like tossing everything out of your body, but
Hmm.
just
Yeah, I think there was a point during that time where I would eat like one Eggo waffle, and that was my entire day.
what flavor?
No, it's just basic. That's just a regular. What kind of question? No, yeah, it was just a regular one, Eggo waffle, and I was like, dude, I can't, I won't survive like this. So one day, I hadn't seen sunlight like for a while. I had
Mm,
like dropped out of college. Like it was a really tough time.
mm.
And one day I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go out and drive, and I'm gonna eat something. So I went to Togo's and I had a sandwich. And like you said, it felt like the most triumphant thing. I was like, I just got up and did something that I'm supposed to do, just something
Yeah,
normal. Yeah.
but it just feels like you won,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? And that's why it's like, I can't tell if that's a gradual thing or if it's just like, bam, because it
Yeah.
kind of felt like bam at the same time.
Yeah. It's kind of both because it kind of starts you on a momentum.
Mhm,
And it's
mhm.
interesting that we talk like this because I guess the beginning of our podcast is going to be super depressing, but that that's what it is. I mean, we're just describing like that's kind of how it is, and I think a lot of people go through it too. So
Yeah,
we got to
it's
be
a
real with ourselves.
it's human. We all go through depressing things, whether it's like momentary or whether it's, all encompassing in our lives.
Yeah,
Just it ebbs and flows. And so we're here to be real.
yeah. And so for me, the thing that I ate was a Togo sandwich, I think it was pastrami, and all they say everything on it. Yeah, I said yeah, everything on it, and I ate half of it. I was so proud that I ate half of it. I'm like, okay, I'll save the rest for later.
Yes.
Do you remember what it is for you that was like the thing that you ate that made you feel like, oh, I ate this?
I don't know. I
Oh,
can't
really?
remember. No, it's just what's cool. So, I have a new roommate, and he moved in December actually,
Mm-hmm.
and he actually saw me go through this.
Mm.
He's one of those people that I called, and we had Chinese food, and he saw me like eat a speck of rice, and so it was either just last week or 2 weeks ago, he told me, he's just like, "It makes me happy when I see you eat, because I remember when I saw you just, like, a month or 2 ago." I was like, "What's wrong with this girl?" 'Cause I wasn't eating.
Yeah.
Now I eat more than him.
Nice. Nice. But you're like really small.
Yes, I am. I still eat half of everything, but I'm always eating. In
Oh,
fact, I probably would have been snacking right now if I just didn't come back from the dentist.
right. Are you even allowed to eat right now, or do you have to like
I
not?
can, like, it's legal, but I'd probably accidentally bite my tongue or something because my tongue's
Uh-huh.
numb, so I wouldn't be able to tell what
Okay.
I'm chewing on.
Um. So you said it was like last year that you were experiencing this. So how many months has it been? Do you think that you were kind of on the recovery slash like kind of the upswing of it?
Oh, shoot. I honestly feel like I didn't really get out of it
Mm.
until mid-December,
Oh, so
kind
really
of.
recently.
Yeah. Um, I think it kinda started either in June or July. I think July.
Hmm.
So July, September, wait, July, August. Wait, am I missing months? No, July,
July,
August,
August, September,
September,
October,
October.
November. So six.
Almost 5 to 6 months.
Mm.
Yeah, but it was the strongest because I feel like, at least through my preteens, that's when I've kind of began experiencing depression,
Mm.
but it was like an underlying, like, sometimes it's there, sometimes I'm okay, but really, last year was a different level. Like, I started going to therapy too,
Oh, dude,
and
therapy's the best.
yeah, but,
Oh, what are you gonna
so,
say?
I went through, like, 3 or 4, and I couldn't find one I was satisfied with.
Oh yeah. Uh huh.
The last one that I spoke to, she was like, "Do you think you might have bipolar disorder?" And I was like, "I don't know." And I spoke to a couple of people, and someone's like, "Yeah, a lot of people have it more than they realize. It's not a bad thing. It's doesn't mean you're crazy or anything like that because that's how media portrays it. It's just you feel like the highs of the highs and the lows of the lows really frequently, and it's not like, I guess it's almost like an imbalance a bit. You just feel things so strongly that it's super high and low. But my other friend who's a nurse, she was just like, "Audrey, you don't have bipolar disorder. You just might be trying to find something wrong with you so you can, kind of just write off how you're feeling is that
Hmm.
and, you know, like have that be the answer."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Well, shit."
Yeah.
She's all like, "The therapist, they tried telling me I was autistic, but I know I'm
Oh
not."
my god.
Yeah, so I was like, "Mm,
That's
maybe."
crazy. It feels like they're trying to just find some kind of label, because they're trying to get to the core of what you are, what you feel, but then they kind of just say this is what you are, you know?
Mhm, mhm.
When you are not what you're feeling. It could be just a temporary thing, it could be
Yeah.
just something like uh it could be something that stemmed from a certain event or certain events or yeah, but then they try to really get to the deep origins of it. It's like because I went to therapy before and they're like, oh, because I was just telling them about recent stuff that would happen, and they were
Mm.
asking me like, oh, how's your relationship with your parents? Is there anything from your childhood that you remember that might be affecting this? And I'm like, dude, maybe I don't know, but is that relevant? I mean, I guess it is, but it's like at the end of the day, no matter what labels they find or what guesses they have, I think at the end they should be offering like, okay, this is what you can do. Here are some suggestions on what you can do.
Mhm.
Yeah. Did
Yeah,
they
I
have? Did they give you any of those?
um, well, other therap my other therapists were trying to do that.
Hmm.
They weren't trying to look at any of the past, like you mentioned, like the whole childhood, like what where did this stem from?
Hmm.
Um, they're just very solution based,
Oh, that's
which was
good.
good, but a part of me felt like I already knew the answer. I just needed, validation from where I was coming from,
Hmm.
that I was okay, that my stance was okay, because I began to question a lot of myself and who I was last year. Um, Not trusting myself in terms of depression and reaching out to people. Yes, there is that, but also before then, I just began not trusting myself in general. Like I was just questioning, like just reaching out to you through text, for example. Not that I did, but it's an example.
Hmm.
I'll be like, "Is it okay if I text him? Like, I don't am I doing something wrong? Like, does this look okay?" Like, I'm just asking him, like, "How are you?" Or like, "What's up?" Like, I don't know. Am I trusting people too much? And
Hmm.
I just started getting a lot of anxiety, and so I just needed this grasp, like, "Hey, therapist, like, I need I need to, like, be told that my stance is okay and how I feel."
Hmm.
And so it's weird. I almost knew what I was looking for, but I was, like, hoping that I would get some sort of outside perspective that I couldn't see, but none of them gave it to me. Except for the therapist that was like, "Hey, you might, be bipolar." And I'm
Yeah.
like, "You know what? I never thought of that."
Yeah.
Like, and the crazy part is when she asked me how I was and I told her, and that's the answer she came up with, I looked it up online, and how I was doing the night before was exactly the Google definition of what, like, a secondary bipolar disorder class would have,
Mm.
and I was like, "That's crazy." I
So
don't know.
you could be.
I could be, but
Yeah.
I don't really know, and she doesn't really know. It was only our 2nd or
Yeah.
3rd.
Yeah.
She's like, "I don't even know because we just started." And I was like, "Yeah, you're right. I also don't know." But
Well, um, how long ago was that? Well, sorry, I don't mean to like pry into all your
no,
like
no,
therapy sessions.
try away.
Okay. Well, because I mean, you're in a like a recovery stage. You're on the upswing. Would you
Mhm.
say that it's like the momentum is good right now?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I'd say it's really good.
And
I
do
have
you
been consistently brushing my teeth and eating.
nice. Would you say that like you're because you said before you needed like validation for your stance, and I
Mhm,
guess in a way that also means like the decisions that you make. Like for example, you were questioning whether you could text someone or not. Do you
mhm.
feel that you have a little bit more confidence in like the daily decisions that you're making?
Yeah.
Okay.
I do. And I feel like if I'm wrong, then I can correct it, or I can go. I can learn from it. And I'm kind of excited for that part,
Yeah.
being able to learn from my decisions. And I'm getting to that point where I can be confident and trusting myself because I'm still recovering from that, right?
Hmm.
Sometimes I'm like, I don't know, but it's like, why not go forward?
Yeah.
Why not be not okay for a little bit, but be able to trust that I'll be able to pick up the pieces,
Yeah.
because that's okay too. Like, I know it's so scary just making a decision where you don't know the outcome, but at the same time, it's like if we never move, then we're also just gonna stay so still. I'm
Yes.
gonna
Oh, that's
start
perfect. Yeah.
spiraling again. I don't wanna do that.
Yeah, I actually talk about this a lot on my podcast. I talk with a bunch of gamers, right?
Yeah.
And I also coach like Super Smash Brothers, because I used to play competitively for like many years.
Mhm.
So when I coach students, they're asking me like, "Hey, what should I do?" And I always tell them, you know, if you should record your games or save the replays, watch them, and look at your mistakes, and then see how you could fix them. That's like the number one overpowered like way that people need to train, right? And
Mhm.
it applies to life. It's basic scientific method. Like you look at what went wrong and you see how you could fix it. But the thing about applying that to real life is that it takes so much humility that it's like it's so difficult for people to look at themselves and be like, hey, I did something wrong, or I could do better than what I'm doing right now. the next day, I'm gonna try better. I'm gonna try harder. Because for a lot of people, like especially when we're depressed, like we feel that there's so much risk in trying something that we just
Mhm.
don't try at all. And there is risk inherently, but it's really important to be humble enough to be like, okay, I'll take a risk because I want to know. Because trying gives you more knowledge. It gives you more data, basically.
And isn't it kind of weird how if we try, usually the outcome is better? Like statistically, like most of the time, it's better,
Yeah,
but we always think it's gonna get worse.
yeah. I think it's a human instinct to like always look at worst case scenario, like what's the worst possible thing that can happen if I do this? Or like and even it's like a psychological thing too where we remember bad memories um
More.
more than happy memories. It's easy to forget happy memories, and I actually learned about this. Bad memories are kind of ingrained into our heads because they're actually more useful, right? So you know what I mean? Because you can learn from them, and I feel like we don't really let go of them until we fully learn from them. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So, how do you think it's useful if people do let go though? Like,
Well, I think they let the best time to let go is when you've like, there's like the 5 stages of grief or whatever it's called.
agree. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the last one is acceptance, right? And acceptance, there's a lot of steps to get to acceptance. There's a lot of like figuring out what happened, getting over the emotions over what something that happened. Um, but then you finally get to acceptance, and it's like, okay, this happened. I can move forward with my life. I can do something new. I can put it in the past, and then just move on. And then that is like the first stage of like being able to let go.
Mhm.
And I think at that point you've gotten what you can out of that memory, because that's the reason our brain keeps the memories in there. Because it's like all memory is used for is like um, improving decisions later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes though, sometimes memories, even if you've accepted them, they still sting over time. And that's why,
Mm.
like, even if you've accepted things, it they say it'll take time just because no matter how much you want things like certain memories to go away, they
Yeah.
don't.
Right. Right. Yeah, and especially with people like people with PTSD, for example, that sometimes memories will just stay with you forever, and you
Mhm.
like it's kind of impossible because it's more on like sometimes random triggers like words or sounds can trigger almost reliving a memory, so it can be really bad. I think we're on a level where we're the stuff we've experienced is still something that we're able to like get past.
Mhm.
And I know this thing you're talking about, and even that can like weaken over time, but it really depends on how you process it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. For me, um, I wasn't allowing myself I didn't have any time to process anything last year. That's the weird part. Until I was started healing, until I started getting up from bed. Um, and so things are hitting me now, and I'm actually getting angry now or mad now, and I'm getting upset now. Like
Like
I'm
mad at
like
yourself?
myself, other people,
Oh.
situations,
Mm-hmm.
like what I've allowed myself to go through in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've done and like what I put up with certain behaviors, and it's like, wow, you
Oh, so
really
you're
don't
saying.
realize things until later
Mm-hmm.
sometimes.
So you're saying the emotional reaction you had was kind of delayed because you didn't have much time.
Yes, absolutely. And I
Wow.
think that's wild. I What were you gonna say?
Oh, what do you mean by no time? Were you just too busy?
No, it's not that I was too busy because at that point I even took a leave of absence from work,
Mm.
just because there were a lot of different factors that were in play, and so it was just, like, one after the next. The moment I thought I had time to breathe
Uh-huh.
was absolutely false.
Mm-hmm.
Just, like, one thing after the next, words after words, people after people, and it was just, like, even if I was on the right path of thinking or of, like, trying to heal, no, there was always backlash to every single time. Um, I thought I was gonna finally be doing okay.
Mm.
Yeah, so, like, once the waters calmed down and I was by myself and giving myself permission to feel and be okay with being mad. Because typically I don't get mad at things all too often. But now I do. Now I get mad, which is actually a really nice feeling. Like, who
Huh.
told me mad is scary? That's right, I did, because I saw it as scary growing up.
Uh-huh.
But it's there for a reason and I kind of like it.
Yeah, it is there for a reason. So I actually with my wife, she gets mad kind of often. I mean not kind of often, but sometimes it'll be little things that put her off. And it's something I've accepted, and something I've learned to deal with, and something I've learned to like understand. Because me, I don't really let myself get angry most of the time. It takes really a lot to make me angry.
Mhm.
Um, I don't get angry very often because growing up, when I see my parents get angry, I'm like, I don't really like that and how that
Yeah,
affects people.
same.
Yeah, but I've learned that anger as an emotion, I mean, it's a human emotion, and it's a good positive emotion because or it's a useful emotion, I should say, because it facilitates like justice, it facilitates
Yeah,
fairness. Yeah.
agree. I think, like, if you're mad, that means you actually feel for something, like you
Yeah.
have a stance and you don't agree with it.
Hmm.
And that is a beautiful thing.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
of course people, it's all about the actions you take. Like everyone feels afraid or sad or angry or
Mhm.
emotions we consider negative, but you've seen like Pixar's Inside Out, right? Like they all have a
Is that the one with the little with sadness?
yes. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I have
Yeah,
seen.
yeah, and each of the emotions has like their own use. Uh, like even the negative ones have like a purpose for keeping us alive, and anger is
Yeah,
one of them. Yeah.
and that's one of the things I've learned on this journey is just to be able to kind of accept your emotions and sit with them and allow them to, allow yourself to feel them
Hmm.
because I used to fight it. Like
Yeah.
when I was mad, I'd be like, why am I mad? I shouldn't be mad because this and that. Like I don't deserve to be mad when I did this and that. And just self-punishment yet again.
Hmm.
So, it strikes one more time.
Yeah.
Um, but no, it's like, okay, I'm mad. Cool. Like, why am I mad? And that's okay.
Yeah.
Just be mad. So
Yeah.
just I want to be able to express emotion and feel it and be colorful. I like colorful things.
Just like your jacket, your Hunter jacket.
Ah, yes,
I think
thank
your
you.
room in general is very colorful. Like your clothes over there, and then the bed,
Oh,
the
yeah, welcome to
posters.
my
Everything's
room.
very vibrant.
Kinda messy, but look at little Rilakkuma over there, just,
Is that the name of
chilling
the
above
bear?
bed.
Nice.
Yeah.
Um, that's really good. A really good thing to uh like realize because a lot of people, especially when they get mad, they kind of like act on instinct. Because there's the other side of the coin where people get mad. They allow themselves to get mad really often, and then they just kind of do something instinctive, but not very fruitful, not very productive.
Yeah, you're
Like
talking about, like, reactionary, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, just because, and I think that's what scared me
mm,
of being like, of anger, of being mad,
yeah,
just because I've seen so much reactionary madness growing up and just throughout my life that I was like, "No, I don't ever wanna be that kind of mad."
hmm,
Like, I wanna keep my head on my shoulders and be able to see things. I feel like when it's reactionary, there's also a lack of understanding on the other partner because they don't wanna listen, they're just very, like, they don't allow the other person to speak even if they are mad.
hmm,
Does that make sense?
yeah,
And it's like, how can you even speak to someone or do anything when someone's reactionary? Because no matter what you do at that point, they will react. Like, it's scary, and I don't like it.
yeah, 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 yeah. That's why that's something I've kind of suppressed, kind of stifled in myself. Maybe, but I think it's kind of good because I understand when I get angry, and I also have a really high tolerance in general for life.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, because like for example, some people will get mad if say they stub their toe, or it's an accident, right? But some people will still get mad.
Yeah.
But for me, like I can get really hurt, and I'll be just like, oh, I got hurt. Like I don't
Yeah.
feel it emotionally. So I think for me, it's kind of a strength sometimes.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, but it's not like I don't allow myself to feel because one thing I learned in like the past couple of years is that
Mhm.
I like understanding very deeply. Like we kind of describe them as like of course everyone experiences emotions and we have like kind of vague descriptions for them, but I like to understand like how it's happening physiologically.
Mm,
So I learned that there are like two parts of the brain, what people like to call the heart and mind, right?
yeah.
There's the first one is the emotions, like, and which is called the limbic system. So like feeling pain and hunger, that's like sort of one of the basic functions of the limbic system. But there's also the emotions like feeling angry and sad, depressed, afraid, happy. And what I realized is that, or what I learned is that that actually comes first, because the second part of the brain is the neocortex, which is logic and thinking.
Mhm.
Um, and a lot of people think that we make our decisions based on logic. Um, but what I learned is that we actually feel first and then rationalize the emotions. So we try to figure out what to do because of the emotions. So why do we eat, for example? It's because we don't want to feel hunger. Why do
Mm,
why do we get angry and make decisions? It's because we don't want to feel angry again.
mm,
Why do we do things after we become sad? It's because we don't want to be sad again. So it's like, and then that is facilitated by dopamine, which is like the desire. It facilitates like desire and decision making. So it kind of works as a system. It's like the brain's way of doing scientific method. All the stuff that we're talking about, like
mhm.
learning, being able to make mistakes and accepting them, and figuring out what you can do after. It's like the loop in the brain that's happening with the limbic system and the cortex is like feel, think, or more like feel, think, do, and then feel and think and do. It's kind of a cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think that we try to have an imbalanced diet in terms of our emotions more often than not? Like
What do you mean?
you mentioned dopamine and how we our reaction is to not feel sad or to not be angry anymore. And so we're
Mm.
just always, I mean, it's not bad to always be in a state of happiness, but it's a
Mm.
little unrealistic at the same time,
Right.
I think. And so do you think, chasing that imbalanced diet is just it does a thing?
Well, I think that like humans, actually, what another thing that I learned is that humans are kind of insatiable. Like once we are happy, once we kind of reach an equilibrium, we want more, and we kind of test ourselves and we kind of challenge ourselves to achieve more happiness. And
Mhm.
but the thing is, there's kind of no end to it. Like they say that people who are just billionaires are still not happy because they always want more, right?
Yeah.
And it's difficult to find that sort of lasting peace, that lasting contentment. Um, because it's kind of in human nature, and you kind of have to tell yourself, you know what, I'm just going to decide, I'm content with my life, I feel at peace, and I'm okay with this, I'm okay with sitting here
Mhm.
and feeling that. um, but yeah, it's in human nature to try to challenge ourselves to get more. Like if we feel that we've already taken out all the things in our life that makes us sad or happy or afraid, we kind of chase more happiness, and in turn we start running into more obstacles, and those will start giving us those feelings again, you know.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think some people like those feelings, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Feeling of fear, the feeling of being able to chase something, to work towards something.
Yeah.
Like, it's that in between stage between sadness and happiness, I guess you could say that people really like being in, like,
Yeah.
gray.
Yeah. There's a yeah, it's like you don't want to be bored, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny that you say that because, I don't like being bored, and
Yeah.
it's to the point where when I was in high school, I made sure that I trained my mind to, like, if I went to detention and I just had to stare at a wall for, like, an hour, then I would be able to draw pictures in my mind or create a story on this blank canvas and see something, a vision, anything.
Mm.
So, I can't be bored no matter how much I tried, and the other day when I or actually last year at some point when I did say I was bored, it was like, "No, I'm not bored. I feel like talking to someone, but I don't feel like putting the effort in, and so I'm just going to lay here and label it off as bored."
Mm. Yeah. Uh you mentioned the word moving earlier, movement.
Mhm.
And I think, to me, movement is one of the most important things. At my current point in life, because right now I'm in a stage where I'm pretty newly married. I've been married a year and a half now, and I'm like the thing that worries us most is finances. Is always money. It's like I gotta work hard, and I work every day. It's kind of a routine. And actually,
Mm-hmm.
when I was a kid, I was like I was really young when I told myself when I grow up, I don't want to do the same thing every day.
Hmm.
Um, and so that meant like I don't want to work a job where, like for example, like if I were to work in a restaurant, like just always cooking the same things and waiting the same tables and something like that. Of course, it's gonna be slightly different every day, but I wanted variety in my life, and I
Yeah.
think with my current job, which is a freelance artist, I'm always taking a different something different and something new. So it's kind of exciting in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still kind of the routine where, I get on my computer, stream for 8 hours, and then make sure I get the work done. Look at the finances at the end of the day, and then rinse and repeat. Make sure I'm getting my food. Make sure I'm feeding my wife lunch, and all that. It's kind of a routine.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and sometimes we just don't get comfortable if we get uncomfortable if the routine is so repetitive. That's like, am I really moving? Am I really going
Mm-hmm.
somewhere? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so, like I said, we kind of seek challenge to bring more into that life. Um, and for me, I feel like the routine is challenging enough right now.
It
Um,
is.
yeah,
Routines are hard to keep up, man.
yeah, it
I don't know
is.
how to do it.
Yeah.
How do you do it? How do you keep up a routine? Because
Well,
I feel like even if I try, like, I don't know, inconsistency is my friend right now, and I'm trying to talk down to it. I'm
uh,
trying to have a good old talk with inconsistency and be like, "Hey, buddy, I think you need to step down a little bit
uh-huh.
so we can find a little bit of balance."
Well, I think the key to consistency is like doing something kind of easy. Honestly, like there's a concept I learned called kaizen, Kaizen. Yeah, what it means, it's a Japanese word. It kind of has some vague meaning, but the way I have learned it is that it's like making small incremental improvements every day.
Mm.
Um,
I feel like I've seen, like, a little chart or something
Yeah,
like.
yeah. So in Japan, it was really popularized by Toyota. It's an engineering concept. Like,
Mhm.
you have a car, um, and it looks like almost perfect. But what are some things you could look at, something that you can still improve? Just a really, really tiny thing. And I think for me, I started applying it in my life because I learned it like a couple years ago, and I had my routine, and I'm like, I'm just gonna add one little tiny thing, and I'm talking like if you do 5 push-ups one day, do 6 the next day. It's like so small, right?
Mhm.
And it and I feel like building a routine can you can kind of start there. Just start with something kind of easy, something that you're already doing, and just be like, what's a tiny little thing I could do? Like drink a little bit more water today.
See, I think I have a problem with doing just the opposite. I think I've been trying to add way too much all at once.
Mm-hmm.
Like when we say it's like coming out of that hole, it's what do you call it? Like a rolling ball? What do you call it?
Oh, snowball effect, like that kind of
Snowball
thing.
effect.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like my snowball got big way too fast, and I'm like, "Wait,
Mm.
hold on there. How do I encompass you,
Yeah,
large
yeah,
snowball?" Like, I have too many things I wanna do now in terms of passion. Like, I wanna improve my dancing, my singing, my instruments, like, you know, and that's just even those 3 alone can be pretty big tasks,
yeah,
or I
yeah,
can just dissect one,
yeah.
like, I can't but the thing is, I know that I mean, like you were saying earlier about variety, like, I love variety, and I used to give myself a little bit of flack for not choosing one thing, so I'm trying to give my permission to be like, "Okay, like, what's wrong with liking multiple things and being able to do multiple things? But how can I give myself balance with that? Because 'Cause they're not just one tiny things. They're
Yeah.
pretty hefty things, I'd like to say
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah,
And could
pursuing those things, I think it's awesome. Just do it all. Just do it all, honestly.
that's
Like,
what I'm trying to do, all
yeah.
of it.
But the thing is, I think it'll always come down to like a time management issue, right? You only have so many hours in the day, and for me, for example, I can talk about Smash, right? Super Smash
Mm,
Bros.
mm, mhm.
So I was so competitive, like 2004 was my first tournament, and my tournament when I quote unquote retired was 2016. So that was
Mm.
12 years of like seriously every wanting to win every single tournament that I went to.
Yeah.
And it was in 2016 when I realized like I got pretty far in my last tournament. Um, I think I got like 97th, which sounds low, but they were like it was the biggest tournament melee tournament of all time. There were like 2,600 people there.
Cool.
Um, so I did pretty well. And after the tournament, I was finally like satisfied, which I had never felt before. Like I lost, and I was like, I did pretty well, which I never tell myself. Usually, I'm like, I can't believe I lost. I still want to get farther. I want to get first place all the time. And
Yeah.
then I remember at that same tournament, I was looking up at the stage at the guys who were getting like top 8, and they're so good and so good at what they do, but it's their life, right? They
Mhm.
play and they practice like 5 to 6, 7, 8, maybe 10 hours a day, um, and I'm like, you know what? That's not the life I want. And to reach a level of mastery, like to be the best at something, you have to make it your life, because to be the best at something means you're better than everyone else, and meaning you're just working harder than everyone else.
Mm.
um, and I realized like I still want to be the best at something. I want to be the best in the world at something. That's like one of my dreams, right?
Yeah.
And right now it's like maybe I can do that with like art and animation. Maybe I can do it with business. I feel like I understand the
Business.
infrastructure of like animation and that stuff. So maybe I can be one of the best at in that field, for
Mm.
example. So I transitioned my time and my talent to something else. Um, but on the other hand, we can be generally good at whatever hobby we do. It just takes time. We don't have to do the side hobby 10 hours a day to be the best in the world at it. You can just do maybe a few minutes a day or a little bit of practice every day and be like, oh, okay,
Mm.
I'm happy with that 25 minutes of practicing learning this song. I'll try again tomorrow to get a little bit more done, and maybe I can play this song, something like that. So it's just a time management thing, and I think it keeps life fun to have that variety.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there it is at the same time. Kaizen.
Yeah.
You should do a little bit, even
Yeah.
just a little bit. So even if it's like 1 extra minute, or just even being able to set a little bit of time aside for that thing,
Yeah.
that counts, I think.
It does. It does. It always counts. Like time is the one resource that's like it's like linear. It's like you can never get it back, right? So I've learned
Mhm.
that it's the most important resource. And it becomes more and more important the older you get, because you have less you have less and less time, which is kind of sad to think about.
I know.
But it's a reality that I've learned to accept, and I think it's a beautiful reality actually,
Yeah.
because time is limited. It makes your choices a little more meaningful every day.
So would you say time, like the perception of time has transformed for you over time?
Yeah, it's interesting because it feels like time goes faster as you get older, and not only does it feel like that way, but probably as you get older, your brain function starts to slow down too. So time is probably literally going going faster too. You know what I'm saying? So
Oh
I mean,
my
it's just the truth,
yeah,
and
I know.
these are all truths that I've learned to accept. I'm still young, I'm still smart, and maybe one day when I'm 70 years old, I'll have dementia or something. But right now, I'm still able. I'm young and able, and
Mm.
so I'm gonna make sure that my daily decisions are like, I want to do the thing that means the most to me. Yeah, the best that I can.
Do you ever think about Do you ever have those moments where you think about the past and you think that you wasted time?
I used to do that a lot. I used to. I think I stopped because I'm like,
I mean,
it's
obviously, you can't go back in time and reclaim it,
yeah, yeah.
but how do
Um,
you get out of it?
I think because I kind of treat myself in I really love the scientific method. I think it's uh a beautiful process, an unlimited process. It never ends, right? You can always improve something.
Mhm.
So scientific method, you just try something, you get the data, you analyze it, you come to a conclusion, you can make another hypothesis. I want to try again something different, right? So now that I kind of live my life that way, everything I look at my past, I'm like everything, all the mistakes, all the regret, it's like it's just something to learn from, and I'm just gonna use it for tomorrow. That's it. So I don't really feel regret very strongly anymore.
Hmm.
Because even now, like, I'm doing my best, and even if I make a huge mistake, maybe I'll feel it in the moment, but I
Hmm.
try to tell myself the next day, you know what, yesterday kind of sucked, I'll try to do better today,
Yeah. So
today's
you
a new
said
day.
anymore.
Yeah.
Does that mean you used to feel regret a lot stronger, or like in general a lot more
Yeah,
so?
probably. I think, yeah. I mean, sometimes, especially when we were talking about like periods of depression, you're kind of just stuck in regret. Sometimes it's just like,
I hate that loop.
yeah, yeah,
Stupidest loop ever.
it is. But once you understand, it's like, you know, I think what I think accepting the repercussions of a mistake is really tough, but
Hmm.
one of the best things a person can do. Be like, yes, I made a mistake. Yes, I made a mistake. Yes, this is what happened. But if it hurts so bad, I'm obviously not gonna make the same mistake again. So tomorrow will be better. It's
I'm
like,
a masochist. I'm just
yeah, you're
kidding.
right. Yeah. Fortunately, I mean, maybe one day I'll interview a masochist to see what it's like, but I have no idea why people do that to themselves.
Well, sometimes people just don't, they get so used to living that way
Mm,
that they don't know what it's like to not.
mm.
They're stuck in a cycle. And even if they don't want to be in it, I think being out of it might seem even scarier.
Oh,
Even if they don't think so.
I
Just,
see. Because it's like a mystery, I guess.
yeah. But you
That,
become so familiar with that pain
yeah,
or
that
with
it's
that.
almost comforting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man, yeah.
Like, there's this tweet I used to see that they'd say, I'm so used to chaos, I don't know what normal feels like anymore.
Hmm.
And, a lot of people like that, and they'll be like, "Oh, same, ha ha ha, blah blah blah."
Yeah.
Just that nonchalant, like, "Oh, hey, me too." Like
Right.
precious sisters, like whatever it is. But it's like, wait, no, really, people don't know what it's like to live in peace anymore.
Hmm.
And I don't blame them. There's so much that goes on in the world. There's so much traffic. There's so much noise. And I'm not just talking about cars. I'm
Hmm.
talking about social media. I'm talking about voices in our minds. Like we are our own traffic sometimes. Just like overthinking.
Mm.
And just like when I say media, social media, whether it be other people or whether it be ads or just comparisons, so much to think about, so much to flood that what is it like to be in peace?
Yeah. Are you
Like
asking me, or are you just describing the?
both.
Okay. No, yeah, that's true. I mean, especially last year, because last year was kind of insane.
And
And
this year started off interesting.
yeah, yeah, this year definitely. Shout out to my man D Trump. Shout out to my boy.
Hey, what's
What's
good?
good, Trumpy
Ooh,
boy? No, so
um,
yeah, so the United States, especially, is going through a really weird period in time.
mhm.
Um, and we have the worst like COVID in the world. Like just the world's kind of insane, and people are right to describe the world that way. That it's just not a peaceful time. Um,
Yo, are they passing out? I mean, passing out. Are they doing the vaccine up there too? Because down here we have
slowly,
like
yeah.
tents set up, and we're doing about 4,000 people a day, and we're trying
Mm,
to aim for 5,000 people a day in San Diego. I don't
oh
know how
wow.
it's like in other counties of California.
What last time I looked it up, I think there were more in Southern California, and I think it's in Northern California. There's only a few regions that are just starting to distribute it. I think we're starting to get it here in this region where I live in the Central Valley, but it's like
Hmm.
very small amount still. Yeah,
Yeah. Wow. What were you gonna
yeah.
say earlier? Sorry, I cut you off.
Oh yeah, I mean, just like how crazy the world is.
Traffic and
Yeah, I
chaos.
think there's this saying, that hard times create strong men, and
Mm.
strong men create good times, but good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. Have you ever heard that?
Whoa. No, but that makes sense.
Yeah, it's a very interesting it's a very interesting phrase, and that's not to say that people are the whole reason that the world is the way it is, because I mean,
Mhm.
COVID is more of a natural disaster. It's like how can sometimes you can't prevent a random mutation of a virus. It's not a human thing. Of course, it's spread by humans, but the origin of the virus is not human, right? So
Mhm.
it's little different from, say, a tornado or volcano or an earthquake or a tidal wave or something. It's just a natural disaster. So we as men cannot control stuff like that, but that still creates hard times.
Yeah.
And the people, because it's not just men, right? It's men and women. The people who are gonna understand and try to figure out this hard time and do their best, they're the ones who are gonna get stronger from this. Um, and for me, because of the way I think I have a sort of inner peace most of the time now.
Hmm.
I think I'm kind of proud of myself because I'm like, you know what, it's just how I see the world now. Like, I always see it kind of via scientific method. I'm like, something went wrong. Okay, what do we do now? Okay,
And when did you start seeing the world that way?
I think last year. I think last year was the biggest growth period for me because, um, it's because I had the most responsibility. I think like, um, paying a lot of bills and being
Mhm.
married and making sure that my daily routine is the best that it can be. I think it just comes with being a husband and one
Mhm.
day like maybe becoming a father someday. You just kind of have to think in a way that's like I got to be able to handle whatever comes. Yeah.
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 Wow.
Yeah.
So, like scientific method, had when did you adopt that to like thinking? Because you say
Oh.
you love, the
Yeah,
scientific method.
it's I think it's so beautiful because I just realized that it's in everything, that it's ingrained in your brain,
Mhm.
that it's not just like when I learned it as a kid, it was just a topic that I had to
Oh,
memorize in school, right? And now I realize that I mean even animals do it, right?
so
That's just how they're
did that hit you last year with the inner peace, or did you adopt that thinking before last year?
I think last year and the year before I was just kind of thinking about it a lot because
Mm.
I was just really thinking like what is the answer to life, right? Like the what is the
Mhm.
best way to think, right? I just kept obsessing over that idea.
That's a good
um
question.
yeah, it's a really pretty tough question, but I think the best answer that I've come up with so far is
Mhm.
that scientific method is a really great way to approach life because it's like all it is just you're seeing what happens, you're observing, and
Mhm.
then you make a you think about it a lot, which most people do. A lot of people get caught in that like thinking part, the analysis part,
Yeah.
and people overanalyze all the time. But the next step is like, okay, based on my analysis, what am I gonna do now? What am I gonna try? And people think that science is just like this clear cut thing. No, science is about people guessing.
Mhm.
Science is about chaos. Science is about like
Mm.
let me just try something new, right? And you just run into, you just create the chaos and then you understand the chaos and you make it orderly again in your mind. And that cycle is so beautiful to me because it's like it just create and the reason it gives me inner peace is because it's like I just don't have to worry anymore because the process will kind of take care of itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, sometimes I do this thing where it's like I'll start overthinking something, right?
Mhm.
Like I'll just say eating this piece of cake, for example. I'll start thinking like, "Oh, I know that cake isn't good for me, but it's right there and I don't know how it tastes." And I'll start overthinking it and the next days I'll start thinking about it stronger.
Uh-huh.
But it's to the point where I'm like, I'm just going to try it and then if I like it, then cool, and if not, then whatever, and if it
Yeah.
affects my body, then fine, and if it doesn't, then cool. Like
Yes,
like,
yes.
let me get my answers real quick. Let
Yeah.
me just take a bite of this cake and figure it out, and if it doesn't work with my system, if my body's like, "Ah, hell no, shoot that thing out of your mouth,"
Yeah.
like, then so be it, at least I know.
Right. Yeah, and the sort of apprehension that you feel about the cake, like in this example it's a cake, right? It's a very
Yeah.
not very scary example, right? But if say it's like I'm like at the Grand Canyon and I'm gonna walk right next to the cliff and it's like can't do I have the training to be able to climb down this cliff or something like that, right?
Mm,
And
mm,
in a situation like that, there's a lot more apprehension and there's a lot of decisions in life that it's like this what I try here could really be devastating. Like the results could be very intense.
mhm.
Like so fears like that are understandable.
Oh,
Um,
definitely.
and I'm not saying that you have to take a leap of faith all the time. You want to like make sure that this decision I make is the best possible one.
Yeah.
But you still have to be timely. You still have to be like, I have to do this at some point, so I'm gonna try now. So with the cake, maybe it doesn't have to take long. I could be like, okay, I just want to eat it now. There's no point in me thinking about this anymore. But
Mhm.
with a big decision, like for example, what do I want to change my career or something? Um,
Ooh,
or
that's a tough one.
yeah,
Or ask for a raise. Don't want to ask for a raise.
yeah, right. So yeah, if you ask for a raise, you could potentially hurt the relationship with your boss. They'd be like, no, you don't deserve one, and you'll be sad, you know. But and you want to we kind of brood over it, right? And
Mhm.
it's understandable too, but eventually we have to make a choice. And it's
And
yeah, being timely is hard. I think timing is very important and really hard.
timing is hard. That's why I've been thinking about it this entire week. Just the perception of time
Mhm.
and just even being able to do tasks. Like for example, usually my holidays, like personally, are super chaotic. I go to at least 4 different houses. I'll start at my mom's, then go to my grandma's, then go to my dad's side of the family, then go to my extended family, and then I'll end up either at home or with my family again at the end of the day. And I'm like, okay, I'll spend 2 to 3 hours at every house on Thanksgiving and Christmas. And it's like super chaotic. And I'm like, I have to get the gifts. And before that, I need to get like the gift wrapping. And I have to do this after work. And I need to eat. And I need to like shower still. And like everything becomes piled on. And I'm just thinking about how much I have to do.
Mm.
I don't know what happened recently though. Because instead of thinking about like, oh, I have to do this, and that, I just, I stopped thinking about it that way and I just started doing things without thinking so much, like overanalyzing, as you would say
Mhm.
earlier. And it seemed like my time cleared up so much.
Yeah.
And I don't know why that is. Like, it's
Um.
almost as if there was a cloud while
Mhm.
I was thinking about all these things that I had to do. And when I eradicated it and realized, like, oh, just doing tasks is a lot more timely than thinking about doing the
Yes.
tasks,
Yeah.
then it works out.
Yeah. I have a guess as to why that is. I think a lot of time anxiety comes from just allowing thoughts to just stack, just pile up,
That makes
right?
sense.
Yeah, and when you do something, you're only doing one thing, and your brain kind of just starts getting in the zone pretty quickly, you know? And you just when you're doing one thing, you kind of forget about everything else, right? Like I could think about, do I want to practice my guitar? When should I practice my guitar? How much time should I dedicate to practicing my guitar? What songs should I learn? Should I practice ukulele instead? You know, we get into all those thoughts. Like at the end of the day, like why not just pick up the guitar and just start messing around?
Mhm.
I actually had a really nice talk with my sister-in-law recently.
Hmm.
We were talking about like school because she's in high school, and I was talking about like this thing that I learned because you get anxiety, especially in high school, because high school's so demanding, and you're doing all these subjects at once, and you have to decide like, when do I do this?
Yeah.
um, and it's just one of those things where you just got to start working on something. Even if your priorities are not completely straight, you just got to start working on something because there's no other way it'll get done. Otherwise, you get stuck in that anxiety stage, and a lot of people just sort of plop on the floor and like, I don't feel like doing my homework anymore, right? Because the anxiety tired them out, right? That
Mhm.
happens to a lot of people, especially nowadays. Um,
Yes.
so what I said to her, it's actually something I learned from Chris Hemsworth. Um, there was some random guy's vlog, and I think he was like hanging out with Chris Hemsworth, and they were working out. And as when they were working out, Chris Hemsworth was like, movement creates motivation," and I was like, "That's a beautiful." So movement creates motivation.
Look at the
When I
accent.
yeah, movement creates motivation. And
How
when it
long can you speak like that?
what?
How long can you speak like that?
I don't know. Don't make me do it. I'm not. I only remember how to say that one really well because it was stuck in my head. It was
Okay.
stuck in my head. Um. So what that means is like, yeah, it's exactly what I was describing. Like you could think about working out, or you could just start working out and you just start moving around, start moving your body around. So sometimes when I get up in the morning, I don't think about like, what exercise am I gonna do or what stretch am I gonna do. I just start, crouching up and down or just moving my arms around, and eventually you kind of just figure it out what you're supposed to
Hmm.
do because you're moving already, right? So, like if there's a treadmill in the other room, and if I get on it, I don't think about how much am I gonna run. I try not to plan it out. I'm just gonna
Mhm.
be like, I'm just gonna feel it out. I'll just start walking, and then however I feel, if I feel like I can keep pushing more, then I'll keep going, and if I feel like I want to stop, then I want to stop. But it just getting moving is really the key. Another example is like, uh, a lot of artists, like professional artists, people will ask them, "How do you get over art block?" And their answer is just draw, right? And writers will say the same thing. How do you get over writer's block? We'll just start writing. You just start moving the pencil, and then eventually something will come out. It doesn't have to be good. You just have to move.
Mhm.
So that's
That
like a really good way to get over anxiety. I think you just start. Just start.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and I feel like, cause whenever it comes to planning, I'm always trying to think, "What's the easiest way possible? What's the most conventional way?" So when I just move without thinking about it, I consider it unconventional because 'cause I'm not thinking about, like, the proper procedures or the necessary steps and, like, eradicating extra movement. It's like, what's wrong with moving big and small and, like,
Yeah.
just all around?
Yeah.
And I think, I don't know, I keep saying I'm giving myself permission, but I really feel like that's what it is because
Hmm.
I gatekeep myself a lot from doing things,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. You,
movement.
you can't plan the world. You can't plan how things are going to turn out. Um, you can plan your decisions, but you can't plan the result, right? So you might as well just try. That's why I was saying like scientific method is chaos. It's all about just trying something and then think about it later, you know?
Mhm,
Don't think about I
mhm,
think thinking about stuff before it's good, but
to
we,
an
we shouldn't
extent.
do it. Yeah, to an extent. Yeah.
How do you know? I don't know. You're right, it really just depends on what it is, just because when it comes to career stuff, it's you kinda wanna think about that a little bit
Yeah.
more, but maybe not too much. I don't know,
Yeah.
that one's a bit heavier, I feel like.
Right. Yeah. I mean, also like vocation too. Like who am I gonna marry? Like, do I want to ask this girl out or not, or do I want to talk to this guy or not? Right. That also too is we can get anxiety from that. I think for me, now that I'm thinking about this, I think the point where you should actually make a decision is when you start going in circles. I think
Hmm,
once you start going in circles, once you notice I've thought about this already, then you can't really get any more from thinking because you're not getting any more data into your brain. You're just kind of cycling through the same thing you've already thought about. And the
mhm.
only way to know is by trying something different or trying what you were gonna do, you know?
That makes sense. I
Yeah.
think that's what propels me with a lot of my unconventional movement. It's like, I've thought about this 10,000 times and
Yeah.
I won't get anywhere else unless I do something.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
can't figure it out by myself or on my own, or if I stay still and do here, I can't get my answer. And that
Exactly.
bothers
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like puzzles and I'm like, okay, I gotta put the piece here if I wanna like see the whole picture.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, recently my wife showed me some kind of flash game. It was like a puzzle,
Hmm.
and I just kept staring at it, but the only way to really figure it out is just press buttons and be like, because it was one of those where you have to click things in the right order, and like this
Mm.
thing will launch this ball in the other direction, and then the wood will fall, and you have to do it in the right order. And the
Mhm.
only way to figure out something like that is just by pressing all the buttons in whatever order and just kind of randomizing it.
Ooh.
Because you would have to be really really intelligent to get it on the first try, like,
Mhm.
and sometimes it's impossible to get it in the first try because there's probably some things you need to click or try that you never would have thought of otherwise.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That sounds like a fun game though.
Yeah, I can maybe show you later. I would have to get the link from Mel.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of frustrating actually. I didn't find it that fun because it was like a really old flash
Oh
game, but
my.
yeah.
I thought applying the scientific method.
No, yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean,
Help you find the right.
eventually I got over it and figured it out. I think the frustrating thing for me, one of my weaknesses is like I don't mind being spoiled. Like if someone knows what's gonna happen in a movie, I just be like, yeah, just tell me what happened. I'm
Hmm.
okay with knowing. Whereas Mel and actually her whole family, they're really anti-spoiler. They're really like, I don't want to know. I want to experience it for the first time.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, but me personally, I don't really care. I'm like, I'm down to know that, Snape kills Dumbledore or whatever. Just tell me,
Yeah.
like, and I'm okay with seeing it play out and be like, oh, so that's how it happened, right? I like
Mhm.
understanding. I don't need to feel, you know.
I'm a mix of both.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, like, sometimes I'll be like, "You can tell me because I know I'm not gonna watch it, so it's
Yeah.
cool. I'm
Right.
never gonna finish it, just tell me." Or I'd be like, "You can tell me because I know I'm gonna forget."
Mm,
But I like also guessing what's gonna happen and then seeing it unfold,
mm,
and I feel like it's even that way with me and my friends sometimes. Like, I won't always want to ask or need to know, like, why or what they're doing. I'll just be like, "Oh, you're gonna do that?" I'm like, "Okay, cool." And even though I wanna ask why, sometimes I could sense, like, not to, and it surprises them sometimes. They're like, "You're not gonna ask why?" And I'm like, "Not unless you wanna tell me."
yeah.
So sometimes I don't need to. And I feel like there's an acceptance in not knowing,
Yes.
and it's nice.
Yeah.
It's kind of freeing in a way.
Yeah.
It's weird not not knowing sometimes and being able to accept that you won't know everything and being
Hmm.
okay with that. Like, that's a wild thing now that I think about it. Because 'Cause we're always trying to find answers, right?
Yeah. There's this one like Venn diagram I saw. It was like circles within a circle, and in the little tiny circle is what you know, and then there's a little bigger circle like what you don't know, and then there's a huge circle that's what you don't even know that you don't know. You know what I mean? Like there's like stuff in this world that you just never would have ever thought about. I don't think that's like perfectly accurate what the descriptions were, but it's something like that. That
Well, it
little
is something
diagram.
like that. If there are other life beings outside this Earth and other planets, there will definitely be things we will not be thinking about
Yeah, yeah.
that are their customs and culture,
Yeah.
if
And
that
then
exists.
there's like stuff that you can't even possibly know, like the mysteries of science that the cutting edge of science that you we just have no way to measure, like those are that like it's good to accept our limitations as people, basically.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I wonder I wonder if there are people who will not be able to accept that no matter what. Like,
Yeah, I think and I think in a way those people are potentially the ones that are heroic. I think those are the people like Newton and Einstein, people the ones who are like the world accepts it this way, but I think I see something else. I think I want to try to see it in a new way, in a better way, in a more accurate way.
ooh, that's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
Oh no, which way do I want to think? Let me go ahead and overthink this real
No,
quick.
no. I mean, it's good to accept, but yeah, I think if you have the curiosity to explore, then you should. I think exploration is a really beautiful thing too. I think it's one of the best ways to learn
You're
about
right.
the world around us.
It's fun
Yeah,
exploring.
yeah.
I love it. What's the last thing you've explored?
Dang, that's funny to think about because I was just thinking about recently that like I just never get out of the house nowadays. I don't hang out with friends anymore because of COVID. My routine is like in this house because I work at home.
It
So
doesn't have to be physically though,
right,
like
right, 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 right.
concept or idea too, like something you've explored.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. So I think I talked to you about this when we talked about making this podcast. My 2020, I didn't because I'm a career artist, but I didn't really get better at art. I just learned business and finance and
Mhm.
economics. Economics blows my mind. I think it's one of the coolest topics ever, and I
Really?
wish I took it in high school. Yeah, it's one of the most mind blowing things I've ever learned. So, one of the reasons I'm fascinated with economics is there's this YouTube channel called Economics Explained. He's like an Australian guy, and he's like, "This is the economics of Nigeria or something or Mexico," and he will talk about like all the things that like keep their economy going.
Mhm.
But one of the core ideas of economics is that it's not about money. It's about people and values. It's about what people value because money has no value unless you actually think that it's worth something and the thing that you're buying is actually worth something.
Mhm.
So all economics is the how people weigh what I value versus what you value, and just how the world kind of revolves around that, and it just blew my mind. And once I figured that out, I started understanding stuff like stocks and retirement and taxes and all of the stuff that makes adult life go round. And I was like, okay, I get it now. I
Yep.
think yeah. So that's what I explored, and I think yeah. So it was fun. It was fun to explore that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
I,
now I
and
have a little bit of money in the stock market and Bitcoin and stuff like that. So
oh, look at you. How much did you put in
not
Bitcoin, if you don't mind
oh,
me
not
asking?
very much, not very much. I just noticed it was really trendy, so I put like $20 in there, and so you can yeah, you can actually buy like fractional stuff on some of the apps.
You know, isn't it like 0.00002?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, and
Yeah, because I
then
was thinking about getting Bitcoin because I know it's been skyrocketing lately.
yeah,
And it's
yeah,
pretty cool how it's probably going to become like a world currency type thing.
yeah, yeah. That's a possibility.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I try not. It's very like volatile. It's kind of still being perfected, and it's not also not the most safe because it's been hacked before. So
Ah,
we always got to be careful with cryptocurrencies. But it's kind of a new thing, and I think it is pretty cool. Um, but then there's like safer investments like stock. Like say you buy stock in Coca Cola, you're gonna be safe because everyone drinks Coke. So
oh yeah.
yeah.
Coca-Cola will never go away.
It'll never go away. McDonald's never go away. So there are
Yeah.
like a lot of safe investments too. But anyway, that's like my whole journey last year, like
Mhm.
learning about money and learning about economics and finance, and it's actually so exciting to me. That's probably me being a 30 in my 30s now.
Are you in your 30s?
I'm 31. Yeah,
You're 31.
yeah.
Oh.
How old are you?
You wait, I'm 27.
Oh, okay.
Wait, when was your birthday?
September
September? Mine's
September
in
5th. Yeah.
May 30.
Okay.
September?
Oh, May 30th. Are you serious?
Yeah,
That's the feast day of Joan of Arc.
I know.
Oh, you know that? Oh my god! And even your hair kind of looks like hers right now.
Does it? Oh,
Yeah,
thanks.
yeah.
And I'm wearing her chainmail. I'm just kidding.
Oh my god. Wow, that's awesome.
I love her.
Um I actually have to go soon.
Okay.
Uh so we can start wrapping this up, but I last question I want to ask is like we were talking about like so our conversation started in depression, and then we're talking
Yes.
about the upswing and like doing things and moving and guessing and learning. So what is the stuff like you're doing now that you're in like in more active lifestyle?
A lot, I feel like. I feel like I've been getting closer to my family.
Hmm.
Like, I've started hanging out with my sisters on my dad's side, which is pretty cool because I'm not really that close to them. Like, I grew up on my mom's side, and, I'm playing Minecraft with my brothers, and so because while I was in depression, I also distanced myself from friends and family for a little while.
Hmm.
So there's that. But even just getting back into cooking, getting back into baking, starting this freaking podcast is one thing. Um, Being more on top of work, being back on full time at work, and just beginning to chase my dream jobs, like that
Hmm.
I've mentioned to you, which is like life coaching, owning my own business slash cafe,
Yeah.
and creative directory. Just actually doing something about it, which is a huge thing because I'm an overthinker. I
Hmm.
overanalyze, I overthink those things, but I'm actually moving. I'm actually doing
Yes.
things. Um, allowing I want to be more expressive and show myself. So I'm going on a photo shoot this Sunday, and I went on one just last month, and that wasn't even on the agenda,
Yeah.
but just expressing myself through fashion is something that's always kind of been there, so it's just going to keep increasing, and I'm just going to do a lot of things in my
Yeah.
solidarity, in my singlehood, and just
Right.
being happy in being single right now.
Hmm. That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's awesome. I love that there's a momentum, but there's no direction. I mean, there's a general direction, but it's not a very specific straight arrow direction. It's like you're just trying, right?
Yeah, and
I think that's the best.
I used to give myself a lot of flack for not having direction, but right
Yeah.
now I've accepted that that's okay, and I
Yeah.
feel like that's the better way to go
Yeah,
because
I agree. Yeah.
that
You
is
kind
my
of find it as you go.
Mhm.
Yeah, you zigzag and do all these meandering, but eventually you find like, hey, I really like this, and then you start going in a straight line.
Yeah,
It's better to just find the path than figure it out in the beginning.
Yeah, and
It's
so I
impossible to
feel
figure
like
it out in the beginning.
I'm exploring life right now.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
exploring myself.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, have you ever played Zelda Breath of the Wild? You ever played that
I
game?
love that game. I
Dude,
actually
it's the
just lent
best.
it to my sister.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Y-
I finished the game, and I
Yeah.
actually did go in a circle, but I know you could go everywhere.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
You could
Uh,
start anywhere, which is amazing.
yeah. We can close out this podcast with that. So shout out to the Oddcast and shout out to my podcast, Getting Good.
Yes,
Um,
God,
s-
get it
the
good.
yeah. So I actually there was some article where some guy let his 3-year-old daughter play Breath of the Wild, and she
Hmm.
was actually like making some progress. And
Mhm.
what's great about that game is that you literally just pop out of a cave and you start exploring, and you just figure out, oh, there's apples over there, there's mushrooms over here, oh, I have to fight that guy, oh, I have to hide, oh my gosh, there's a monster over there, I should run away.
Yeah.
And it's literally just the perfect like microcosm of life, because you're kind of just thrown into it. There's unlimited things out there, and it seems like it's an orderly thing. It seems like there's an objective, right? Like
Mhm.
in the very beginning of the game, they say, "Oh, main objective, kill Ganon," right?
Yeah.
And I think it's so funny because it's like, well, you're obviously not going to do that right away. You could rush into the castle and just die, or you could just explore everything and see what the world has to offer, and then figure it out from there.
Yeah.
And you find your own path, and I think that's what life is all about.
Man, we
Yeah,
are all Zelda.
yeah,
We are all our own characters in this game called life.
yes.
Who are
All
the
right,
NPCs? I'm just kidding.
you're an NPC. I'm the main character. No,
You're
I'm just
not
kidding.
wrong.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Maybe I'm the NPC.
Both.
Yeah.
We're both the NPCs.
We're both NPCs, and the person watching this is the main
Yeah,
character.
whoever's controlling they
Yeah. So shout out to you, the viewers, the listeners. You are the main character. Audrey and I are just NPCs,
yeah, we're
and
just
you
here
listen
in
to
the background.
you clicked A to listen to our thing, and we are talking at you right now.
Yeah, now you get some +5 EXP
EXP.
listening to us.
Side quest complete.
Ching.
Yeah. All right. And that said, let's wrap it up. So thank you, Audrey. And that was awesome. I would love to have you again. I would love to have another conversation with you in the future.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
That was fun. This is fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
All
Peace
right.
out.
Bye.